It's not unheard of to run into famous celebrities out in the open. I'm sure many people have even caught glimpses of their favorite actors going about their daily lives. I never thought it would happen to me, though. I'm kind of the loner type, you know? Go figure that the other day, I ran into someone I never would have expected to see. Maybe the only actor I ever really respected. I would love to say my life's better for it, but it's not. It's much worse. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to watch another Ryan Gosling movie again because of it. It all started about a month ago. It had been a cold night in February. I was surrounded by people, knew none of their names. They had nothing to do with me, but nonetheless, I had to bear their presence. There was only one reason why I subjected myself to the possibility of social interaction. I was in that place, in that line in front of GameStop, for only one sole reason. The new Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It was releasing that night. Its rich open world, its enigmatic protagonist Cloud Strife, and that masterful storytelling, I would finally be back in the world that I explored so many times on the original PlayStation. Almost everyone around me was chatting about the release, chatting almost way too loudly. Thankfully, I wouldn't have to be there much longer. It was almost midnight, and thanks to my early arrival, I was the second person in line. Only a few minutes later, the man in front of me was let into the store. Finally, I thought to myself, as I was brought in soon after, finally, I would have the game I had been waiting so long for, and then I could get out of that place. "Nice shirt." I looked up. It was the man that had been in front of me. "Thanks," I mumbled out. His sweater had the exact same graphic as my shirt, the original PlayStation 1 cover art for Final Fantasy VII. "You too." And it was at that point that I locked eyes with him. The Ryan Gosling. He was smiling back at me with a copy of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in hand. It felt like a millennium before he put one finger up to his mouth, as if to say, "Don't tell anyone else," and then proceeded out of the store. "Next," I heard the clerk say, but I couldn't move. Drive, Blade Runner 2049, Ken from the Barbie movie, they had all been integral to shaping me as an individual. I was stunned. I looked back, but he was already gone. "Next," the clerk called out again, and I finally collected my pre-order. I looked for him once I got out of the GameStop, but Ryan had been long gone. I daydreamed about how our interaction could have gone differently as I made my way home, by foot, in a state somewhere between melancholy and jubilation. Dang, I can't believe he had been the first person in line. We both loved the original and had been waiting for the remake. He really is just like me. I should have recognized him sooner. Maybe then we could have added each other on the PlayStation Network. I sighed. Suddenly, there was an overwhelming force. I was pushed to the ground, and when I looked up, the shadow of a large man stood between myself and the exit of a small alleyway I had fallen into. "What the?" I cried out from the ground. "You," the shadow growled. "You saw me." That voice! As they crouched down in front of me, their face was illuminated by the yellow-orange light of a weak bulb above the two of us. Ryan Gosling! "How?" Ryan growled at me, now gripping the collar of my shirt. What? "How can you see me?" My heart was pounding. This was never how I had expected my second meeting with Ryan Gosling to go. He was acting insane. "Don't play dumb with me!" He had me by the shoulders now. I tried to fight it, but his grip was like a vice and my strength wasn't enough. "I know what you are!" he yelled, throwing me further down the alley. "Ryan, please, stop, you're acting crazy." "Crazy?" He stopped. Angered breaths filled the gap of silence. "No." One hand went to his face, and in a horribly drawn-out motion, it started to pull. And pull. The face of Ryan Gosling was like putty, slowly relenting itself to the hand that was sliding it away from a place it should never leave. "No," he spoke again. The word rung out just as grim, but far less deep and far more nasally. My eyes opened wide in awe and confusion. There, where the handsome stubble-covered face of Blade Runner's K once sat, was now something completely horrifying, but maybe not entirely unexpected. It was my face. "No, I'm not crazy," Ryan continued, pulling his feet from their shoes. The once sizable man now reduced by several inches as his bare feet hit the ground. "But how?" I stammered out. He dropped the flesh mask beside me. "You tell me, you damn doppelganger." There, before my very eyes, now only known to myself, Ryan Gosling, and you, dear listener, was my exact likeness in every way. You're literally me!" I spat out, my heart beating even faster in a mixture of confusing emotions. But Ryan stepped forward, and with his next remark, those confusing emotions solidified into only one: fear. "I'll kill you," he shouted. If he got his hands on me again, there would be no way to escape. Could I even outrun the Blade Runner himself? So many thoughts jumped through my head within the span of a second, and in some desperate last-ditch effort to save myself, I somehow intuited I would need more than just my own strength to escape. And so, I grabbed that false face that had dropped beside me earlier, jumped back, and ran. I got one last look at my own face staring back at me as it stumbled whilst trying to reach for me. "Give that back!" I heard Ryan call out behind me. I could hear his footfalls quickly closing in on me. "Get back here!" And then I was out the opposite side of the alley. "Give it back!" I didn't stop running. "I need it! Give it back!" I stopped. The voice had gotten further away. I turned around. "Give it back!" I could make out one hand wrapping around the corner of the alley's exit. Ryan's pleas were still emanating from the place he had accosted me. For some reason, he wouldn't follow me further. I looked down at the cold slab of flesh I had in my hand. If you squinted hard enough, you would have been reminded of the hit 2011 movie, Driver, starring the man who had, up till now, worn this exact mask. It's been almost a month now since that incident. The flesh mask is kept in a jar underneath my bed in a small vault. I don't know why, but it makes me feel safer knowing it's harder for Ryan to get a hold of. I say this, but I honestly don't feel that safe at all. I haven't gone out since that night. I felt so paranoid and ill, I've barely even touched Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And to think that all of this started off so well. That Ryan Gosling and I had been both such big fans of the game. Who knew we were so similar? But he wasn't just like me, he was literally me. God, that face. That pale, wretched face, unmistakably my own. And that damned nasally voice of his. Had I no claim to even my own? Those legs, so hauntingly similar to mine in length. No, they were exactly the same. That sound. I can hear it right outside my window. No. God, no. That 1973 Chevy Malibu. He's found me. He's found me at last.